I'm Trisha Patel, and this is the video presentation for Summative Assignment Unit 5. This is Unit 5, which is Rational Functions. So this is a video about solving rational equations, which is under the topic 5.4. So here I've picked out a question, which is 3 over x plus 4 over x plus 1 is equal to 2. So here we see that this denominator is x plus 1, so we find out the restrictions, which is x will not be equal to negative 1. So this is because if it's negative 1, we get a 0 as a denominator. Next, what we're going to do is we find out the lower common denominator, which is more like the LCM of the denominators. So here we have x and x plus 1, so the LCM would be x into x plus 1. So for the top part, what we're going to do is it's more like cross multiplication, so we multiply 3 by x plus 1 and 4 by x. We get 3 into x plus 1 plus 4 into x, which will be equal to 2. So here we can multiply x into x plus 1, the denominator, by 2. So like we just take x into x plus 1 on both sides. We have x into x plus 1, so this crosses out and we're left with 3 into x plus 1 plus 4 into x is equal to 2 into x plus 1. So we'll just expand this. We get 3x plus 3 plus 4x is equal to 2x. We'll first solve the inside. So we have x squared plus x. So here we see that this is 3x and this is 4x. So we collect like terms, and this will give us 7x plus 3, which is equal to 2x squared plus 2x. So now I'm going to make one of the either sides a 0. You can choose any, doesn't matter, you'll get the same answer. But here I'm going to use the right hand side. I'll make the right hand side 0. So what we're going to do is we'll bring this to the left hand side. We will subtract it. So here we have 7x plus 3. We'll subtract, so that's minus 2x squared, and since this is a plus as well, we subtract that as well, is equal to 0. So here we're going to collect like terms, which is 7x and negative 2, which will give us a negative 5. We'll start with this. So we have negative 2x squared minus 5x plus 3, since that's the only one we're left with, is equal to 0. So you see that we get a quadratic equation. So now we're going to solve it quadratically. So we're going to find out the factors first. So the factors are, let's see, we have negative 2 and a 3. So that gives us a negative 6. So we have to find two numbers which will give us a product of negative 6 and a sum of negative 5. Actually, this is, this is positive 5, because this is a positive. So we have to find a factor which gives us negative 6 as a product and positive 5 as a sum. So that would be negative 1 and 6. So we're going to substitute this instead of positive 5. So we have negative 2x squared minus x plus 6x plus 3 is equal to 0. You should never forget your 0. So here we're just going to group them up. So we see we have a common factor of x on the outside, and then we have 2x. Then this would give us a plus 1. We'll make this a negative since we have negative as a common factor as well. So here we have a plus, and both these have to be the same thing, so we'll just write this. It makes it easier. So what do we multiply by 2x to get 6x? We have 3, so this is going to give us the same thing. So now we just group them up. That's negative x plus 3 and the inside, which is 2x plus 1, is equal to 0. So now we're going to find the x value. So we have negative x plus 3 is equal to 0. So we have negative x is equal to negative 3. We divide this by negative 1. We get x is equal to 3, or x could also be 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. So we have 2x is equal to negative 1. We divide this by 2. We get x is equal to negative a half. So x could either be 3 or negative a half. So we have a restriction. Earlier we had restriction, which is x is not supposed to be equal to negative 1. But both of these are agreeing to the restriction, so they're both applicable. So next here we have using rational functions to model and solve a problem. So this is more like a word problem, so we're going to use the information given in this problem to form a rational equation and solve the questions here. So the question says Talia purchased a large box of comic books for $300, and she gave 15 of them to her brother and sold the rest on an internet website for $330, making a profit of $1.50 on each comic book. So part A says how many comic books were in the box, and part B says what was the original price of the comic book. So first what we're going to do is we're going to form a rational equation using this information. So here first it says that she purchased it for $300. So the original price for the box is $300 written down. So, and then she gave 15. So here we have to find a unknown value for comic books. So we could use any letter. Here I'm going to say that let the number of comic books be x. So here we have a price of 300. So she bought x comic books for $300. So that equation would be 300 out of x. So this is our first equation. Next it says she gave 15 of them to her brother, so that gives us she gave 15 to her brother, which gives us x minus 15, and then she sold the rest of them for $330 on an internet website. So she sold them for $330. So here we get equation. So since we want to find the original price as well, so no, never mind that. So we also get a second equation which says 330 out of x minus 15. That is going to be our second equation. And then she made a profit of $1.50 on each book. So to find the number of comic books, we can just use these two equations and the profit as well to form a whole equation, which would be more like we subtract the original price over the number from 330 over x minus 15. So here we're going to say 330 out of x minus 15, which is what she sold, minus 300 out of x, which is what she bought, and then she got a profit of 1.50. So this is our third equation. So you're going to use this to find how many comic books were in the box. So here we're first going to find the low common denominator, as we saw earlier. So that would give us x minus 15 into x. So as we said earlier as well, it's more like cross multiplying. So we multiply 330 into x minus 300 into x minus 15, which is going to give us 1.50. So next we multiply 330 by x and 300 by x minus 5. We get 330x minus 300x minus 4,500 out of our denominator, which is, we can multiply this as well. So we have x squared minus 15x, which is equal to 1.50. We'll take this away. So we can multiply the denominator on both sides. Minus 15x, and here we do the same. We have x squared minus 15x. So this crosses out, and we're left with 300x minus 330x minus 300x minus 4,500, which is going to give us 1.5 x squared minus, we have 1.5 times 15x, which is going to give us 22.5x. So now we see we have 330 minus 300, so we're left with 30x minus 4,500 is equal to 1.5 x squared minus 22.5x. So here we're going to make one of the sides a 0. I'm going to make the right hand side 0. So we're going to bring this to the left hand side. So this becomes 30x minus 4,500. We have minus 1.5x squared plus 22.5x is equal to 0. So this becomes, we collect like terms. So we have our negative 1.5 x squared first. We have 30x plus 22.5x. That gives us 52. So we're going to add that 52.5x. We have minus 4,500 is equal to 0. So we have a quadratic equation here, so we can solve it similarly using the previous way of quadratic equation. So after solving it, we have we get our x values as x is equal to 75 or x is equal to 40, negative 40. Divide this. So since the number of comic books could not be in negative, so this is going to be x is not equal to negative 40. So what we're left with is x is equal to 75. So we're going to use this value to find the number of comics that she bought. So we know that the original price, which was the buying price, was $300 for a whole box. So we're going to use our equation of the one we have back here, which is 300 over x, to find the original number of books. So we have 300 out of x, and we know that x is equal to 75. So we have 300 over 75. So we're going to solve this, and we get 4. So that means the original price is equal to $4 per book. And next we have this was actually part B, so we have to find the number of books. So we saw that they asked for how many comic books were in the box. So we have our x value is 75. So this 75 is the number of comic books that we had in the box. So the number of comic books, we'll just divide this, in the box is equal to 75. and then we solve the original price as well. To find the selling price, what we have to do is just use the x value. So we had that equation of 330 out of x minus 15. So this was more like the selling price. If we want to find the selling price, we just have to subtract 15 from x, which is 75, which will give us 330, which is 75 minus 15. So this one's just gonna be like 60. So we have 330 out of 60, which gives us $5.5. So this was the selling price. So this is how we solve a problem using rational equations. That's it for my presentation. Thank you.